some hobby talk, and then afterwards we're going to look over the Saturday local event that's at Atomic tomorrow, because we got a bunch of players signed up for that. We're going to go over those lists and kind of discuss what we think is going to play out, and we'll be wrong as usual, but it'll be fun. So what do you guys got that you're working on?
Well, I got the dock stuff. I'm getting ready for this big tournament in June that we're going to, this Jersey event, and I've decided to try my hand at converting things. And you guys want to take a look. Like, this is my first real conversion, and it was nerve-wracking to start taking clippers and just chopping things off of models.
Yeah, all it took was chopping up one Archon, right? That's all.
Yeah, I chopped an Archon to shit and a Blood Raptor Shrine to shit. So about $150 worth of models.
Yeah,
chopped the hell and back.
Yeah, dude, don't matter to Jesus.
So it'll be fun. Most of my stuff's already painted. I got my few little bow conversions approved. There was a little bit of panic when I was waiting to hear back from the TOs for the Jersey Open, but came back and gave me the green light to use my bow snakes.
Don't have to build 15 more bow snakes.
Yep, that's what was going to end up happening. I was going to have to build 15 more. Yep.
I assume you got like some of the new Luminous stuff, Ryan. What did you choose first?
I have all of it. I have been
already all built.
I have been doing nothing for the past week but building Luminous.
Ah.
I still have a few more, but there's a lot to build.
That's cool. Did you get the Wind Spirit built yet?
I did, actually.
That thing is super sick. I saw another buddy of ours building his, and it's even better than I thought it would be. Yeah, it's like an awesome model. There's like a ton of detail packed on, and it's the model's smaller than you would have thought it was going to be, but it's still got like a ton of detail packed on it.
Well, what's interesting with it too is that I guess the top half of the Wind Spirit is different depending on whether you build Severeth or you build a generic one. Mm-hmm. So whichever one you have, you actually have like the upper half of the other one. So you could just do some kind of like cool conversion, like maybe have like another tornado underneath them where the bottom half of the body is hidden. And as long as you have the base, you basically just got 2 Wind Spirits for 1.
I actually saw somebody do that on one of the Facebook groups. He had it was almost like a genie in the bottle type thing.
Yeah, I plan
the top half.
Yeah, I plan to figure out a way to do that, do the bottom part for the generic spirit because I built Severeth.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody do that too with some I think they use cotton or something for a smoke effect underneath of him. It was pretty cool.
You should have the old monastery art where you have both of them touching. You cut their bows off and they're touching fingers. That's the contact point. Funny. And then, I guess it's my turn. I've been painting this. So that's the big Shadow Queen. My camera sucks, so you can't really see it, but some decent progress on her. I've been painting her for about the past week, and I'm pretty happy with how she's turned out so far. Not finished.
Ramrod us tomorrow.
She gonna do what she gonna do?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Just kill her, dude.
Marathi.
Just kill her.
Yeah, just kill her.
Yeah, just kill her. She dies easy.
Simple.
That I got some. The rest of the army to see where my progress is. To half, literally half's done. So
more than mine.
That'll be. I'm trying to get that ready for the New Jersey GT in June, and I think I'm gonna be able to get it ready. But it's just a time-consuming process keeping the level of polish I want on those models because they're so tedious to paint. I'm sure Ryan knows he's painted a bunch of the different elf armies, and they're all detail everywhere, hard to polish, time-consuming.
Yeah, it's hard to stay committed.
Demo of the models.
It's hard to stay committed because after you do a third or a half of it, you just want to no, I can't touch this paintbrush anymore. I need a break.
You're like, I just put a week worth of painting in, and I have a squad. Like I wanted more than a squad.
I have 3 eels done. Yeah.
Deepkin, it
Ideal.
does have the benefit of only having like 22 models, so like
Yes.
that's
yes. That is true. It was much easier to paint than Lumineth, where they're all rank and file.
good. Cool. I guess we'll kind of like hop into these lists and stuff. Kind of go apart. If you didn't submit your list, we're gonna make fun of you. By the way, shame on you. But first off, we got Brian. You want to run through your list?
Yeah, I'll go through it. I've been exploring some things with Doc. I was on Xanthar Kai, and then with all the changes, I think mainly I didn't want to play Old Busted Hagnar because it was Old Busted Hagnar. And I was trying to not completely power game the system. But I'm back on Hagnar now that it's been somewhat nerfed. We have a lot of us have differing opinions on it. In my opinion, I think it's an A tier list somewhere around Slaves to Darkness. I think this has similar play to my Archaon list. I think it's funny. It's like a lateral move from my Archaon list to this. It's just more of a different hobby project.
Yeah, a lot of similarities where like you have a lot of damage potential, a big giant centerpiece, but all of your damage is tied up in a really fragile platform that will just die if you misplay it. So it's a lot of similarities between those two armies for sure.
So I've been playing around with it a lot lately. I've actually got about 6 or 7 games in the last couple of weeks messing around with it. Obviously, the Viperic Guard Battalion gets you the free CP, which is good, into a Lumineth matchup where more than a free CP, it gets me a free command ability. So I don't have to pay double CP to make things happen. Morgwaith and the Blade Coven, I am blown away by how they perform on the table. Like that little free unit of Blade Coven can put out some damage if they're all you have left, or somebody's kind of creeping up in some deep strikes into your backline, and you put all the buffs on that unit. Now you got like 20 attacks out of a free unit with neg 1/2 damage on the charge. It's crazy the utility that you get out of that unit. But it's Marathi, the Shadow Queen. Marathi's got Mind Razor. We all know what that does. +1 damage, or +1 rend, and then +1 damage on the charge. I went from making the Iron Scale the general to switch with the Blood Rack Shrine. It's just a bigger base for my Feel No Pains. It just works better. It's just a platform that's easier to keep alive. Especially with all these armies.
Like versatility too. Does the different phases of damage, and with Steed of Shadows, she has like a real combat profile, so she can get around the map and get stuff done for sure.
I have killed a Great Unclean One with it and a Glotkin with it so far. But obviously on that turn it's all buffed up. It's got Mind Razor on it, it's got Steed of Shadows. And then if Marathi's in combat within 18 inches of it, she gives it another attack because it has the keyword. So
yeah, and it's like on all their profiles, so it winds up being like 4 or 5 extra attacks.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up out damaging the Avatar, which is hard to say because when I was playing the Slaughter Queen or the Hag Queen on Cauldron, that Avatar came in handy a lot late game. She does much better damage now, especially with the Hag Queen losing its ability to put the extra damage on itself through prayers. Now you're only getting 1 prayer out of a Hag Queen on Cauldron, and I think at 220 points for 1 prayer, yeah, it's a cool buff piece. It's a little resilient, but it wasn't the general, so it wasn't taking the artifact, and the Medusa just slots in there better. And then I got another Hag Queen and Morgwaith and the Blade Coven, and then just 15 bow snakes and 15 melee snakes. We all know what they do. They can run and charge and shoot, all that stuff.
Nice narrative doc list. Right, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's narrative.
Yes,
it's as
indeed.
narrative as it gets.
Don't let these people fool you guys. Don't
very thematic. It's Marathi and her Viperic Guard. It's what she would take anytime she would go into battle.
Yeah.
These units would be with her.
Indeed.
So
Yeah, Brian doesn't expect to do well. He'll be
I
happy
don't.
with 1 win, right?
1 and
Yeah.
3 or 1 and 2 is what I expect to do. At Jersey, I may not even get a win. But we'll see how it does. I've been playing it a lot lately, and what I've had to do with it is kind of let the list play the way it wants to play versus the way I want to play it. I wanted to shove the melee snakes down your throat turn 1, shock and all, but that's not how they work. They're not 40 marauders. They're not 40 by my willed marauders that fight when they die. They're just a glass cannon. So I've been a little bit more controlled on how I play it lately, and yeah, we'll see. We'll get some games in tomorrow. You guys, I don't like it. It never worries about being down early on victory points, so I don't have to push the tempo, and I'm not worried about somebody like I can give up a couple of points early because usually I can do enough damage throughout the early parts of the game to go get all those objectives later. And
it's kind of like Deepkin in that way. I'm sure Ryan will have his perspective on it too. You played a lot of Deepkin, but you're so fast that you don't have to have preparatory movement. So you can just go from where you are to where you need to be in a turn. Instead of a lot of armies have that 6-inch movement where you have to kind of show your cards in a turn. You have to start shifting where you want to be, whereas the army can just get there. So it can be really scary because it's really fast and has a lot of damage, which translates in Age of Sigmar to a really scary double turn, which is always on the table and always keeps them in the game. Even if they're like punching up against something that might be considered a little better, there's so much damage and they're so fast that they can beat anything. They're really similar to how Feck was about a year ago, in my mind.
Yeah.
At least from my practice games from both, I see a lot of similarities between those two armies for sure.
Oh yeah, it can cover some ground fast, and like you said, it can. I don't have to plan a turn ahead on where I need to be, so I'm just okay with giving up an objective because I want to keep positioning better and doing the chip damage with the bows until I feel comfortable that I've taken away enough threats to go in there and really start. And then Marathi, she harasses the entire game. Like,
yeah, just ignore her. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
not.
it's hard to it's hard to deal with something that doesn't die, for sure.
mm-hmm.
Especially with the double turn, like we were discussing earlier, in play. It's hard to like visualize just how far into the meat of your army she can get with a double turn. Like the army really does thrive in that scenario. It's not very good at absorbing a double turn. Like Marathi won't die, but if you can get into all the support and all the other units and like get those off the table, Marathi can't win the game by herself. But it's still really scary. With the low drops, are usually you're going to make your opponent go first, so it immediately becomes like something that might happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a strong army for sure. It's a little limited as far as wounds and board control, but that's really the only weakness the army has.
That's just every elf army in general. Normally, you're always going to be less wounds than most other armies, and less, especially less bodies, unless like I guess Venari Horde kind of, or like if you just spam the witch elves, but
James' list has a lot of bodies, and it's terrifying to think about how to take out that many Lumineth bodies because they don't necessarily rely on the buff pieces for the resiliency, which is
they
task.
are the buff pieces. Like a lot of those
they're very
battle line units are the things that a lot of their buffs are self-contained, and then their spells are on their units. So it's very hard to attack. Very hard.
Well, what do you think, Ryan? You can. I'd like to hear what you think. What do you think about the list? Think it's going to do all right?
Yeah. Well, I think your list is like I've already fought it. Like not this exact one, but I fought one very similar. I think it's going to do just fine. Like,
I think it is. I think it's okay.
Very good shot at winning. Unless you get paired against Gavin again, then like I don't know how well Marathi into Marathi does.
Yeah, we've been making jokes about it. Like
it's actually something I kind of want to play because I expect in Atlanta it will happen. if there's a lot of dock there, like eventually I'm going to have to play against it. So it'd be something good to have knowledge of, right?
Mm-hmm. It'll be like turn 3, nothing left on the board but 2 Marathis. Playing who gets to swing first. Yeah,
lots of cool stuff. We'll kind of revisit a lot of some of these list points when I get back to my list, because there's a lot of similarities. But keep it moving. We'll get to Chris Schelling's list. He's got the first of, I think there's 2 Gloomspite armies that are going to be here. So
yes,
this is always fun to see.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
And he has the killer spiders. They're painted super nicely too from the pictures I've seen. And I'm pretty excited to play against it if I wind up playing against it, because of just how different it is from a lot of the Gloomspite armies that you see. It's one of those new White Dwarf armies that really helped out Gloomspite a lot, in my opinion. And just all spiders, very thematic. And he has the battalion that lets him outflank, so he can decide to hide units at the start of the game. And it's usually going to be that 30-man. And that presents a really interesting problem for armies to solve, because it's so much damage and so much of his army that doesn't start on the board. So you have to be wary of where he can come off the board edge and attack your army. So it's a interesting list for sure. He's got the big support characters that are all really good. Everything trying to make his mortal wounds go off more reliably. And then, the spell that lets him run and charge, I believe, like run, shoot, and charge, I think is what that spell does. And then
I think it's shoot and charge. It was something weird, or like
Yeah.
it was like run and shoot. Like I remember it was actually like seemingly more limited than it seemed, because Evans played it, and I've played against that, like a very similar list to it.
That is it's super cool. They all basically have fly. They got a lot of movement, a lot of bodies, and a lot of bodies on pretty big bases. So,
and the bodies can resurrect.
Yeah, it's a crazy list. Like, I'm excited to play against it too if I get paired up in that, because
it's very abstract. It's like hard to see what's going on, because what is going to happen in his turn isn't apparent. Like, it's not a linear army at all. He's got a lot of abstract elements to it. So it's kind of hard to extrapolate what's going to happen. And so that makes it hard to attack, in my opinion.
Yeah, and rule of cool, they look awesome. Like, they look awesome. I've always liked the big Arachnaroks. I just can't get past the little ones if it looks like someone stepped on a spider. And I can't get past those. But he did a great job on them, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. I mean, speaking of that in general, we have so many fully painted armies coming tomorrow. It's going to be... Andrew's actually going to have his hands full judging the paint scores, so that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I will not be one of them.
They've also got a real interesting little tidbit where I think they re-roll hits against wizards, so that kind of matches up weird into like armies like Lumineth, right? I think.
Yes.
Oh yeah, re-rolling hits into your whole army. That's
it. Only the Skitter Strand of Ragnarok can do it.
The units don't?
No, it's just only the specific unit Skitter Strand or Ragnarok.
Okay. Let's see.
Which it's the one that can do its own form of deep strike.
Yeah, that one also has like a battalion that helps their deep strike out too, I believe.
Yeah, where you can have like 3 Ragnarok or Skitter Strands in it, and for each one that comes down in the same turn, you get a plus to charge.
Oh wow! So you drop all 3 and you're on +3 to charge from 9 away.
Yep.
Ooh, that's funny.
More star charge with 3 Arachnaroks.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, I know Chris is going to play it well. He's a good player. He and I have played a few times, and it's always intense games. Like we played with his Zinch list, and I played his Hallowheart list. It's always real intense games, and he's a really good player. So he's going to make you work for it no matter how the game goes. So.
It's also like fairly low drop for a Gloomspite army. Usually you see like 16 or 17 drops a lot of the time in the traditional Gloomspite, and this is more medium. So it's also
how many are we looking at here?
Hey, look, I think his Scuttle Boss and the Spider Riders are in a battalion. The
Mhm.
Skitter Swarm, and then everything else is outside of that, I believe.
Okay.
So
So 5 or
One-
6.
there's 1, 2 heroes, and then the battalion, and then an Arachnarok Spider. So that's 4, I believe.
Oh,
I think
wow, that
I
is very low.
could be wrong on that though.
Not bad.
That is very low. And for the record, I'm 5 drops, guys. I know a lot of the world wants to pretend like the Medusa, like the Iron Wreck Medusa fits in the battalion. I even read it that way until I understood exactly how the keywords work on
Yeah,
bolded.
it's not bolded. Yeah,
Yep. So
unfortunate.
Yeah, how many drops?
A bunch of illegal lists playing.
oh yeah, every doc, any kind of people talking about doc that I've seen have mentioned the Iron Wreck Shrine in Viperic Guard. It
Yeah.
doesn't go in there.
My list is 2 drop. I'll break it down further when we get there.
Yeah.
But it's everything besides the Blood Wreck Shrines in the battalion, and then the Blood Wreck Shrine makes 2. So we'll see how it plays. I'm not 100% sold on the list. I kind of pushed it up a little bit with the new FAQ and just kind of experimenting, seeing how it does. And we'll see if it performs how I want it to. If not, I'll tweak it. I got a lot of time before the GT comes, so that's a lot of what my prep is for. So.
From what I've seen before they even got that update from the Battle Tome, it should be pretty scary. One of the only people who've killed Teclis.
Yeah, that was with the old teleport. That was a little bit stronger. So we'll see
Yeah.
how it's going to perform this time. I'm sure it'll be if we wind up playing, it'll be a really fun game, really close. Probably come down to a turn roll off like it always does. It seems like every one of our games does. So just roll
My
good.
list is this time. New stuff.
New stuff. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
and
Schemy
then
stuff.
Next up, we've got a dear friend of the Harambe's Heroes, is Mr. Clifton Pope here, a.k.a. Jerome Watkins. And he's bringing beef. Yeah. 3 Mega Gargants and just enough battle line to fill his battle line. Yeah, this is the man list. Jerome Watkins and the Knee Knockers. Yep. There you go.
2 gate breakers and a Kraken Eater.
So I hope you don't got a terrain piece you like.
I don't have mine yet, so
that's just getting squashed.
He's gonna grind his feet all in it. Yeah, it's like no terrain piece.
Mine's not even available yet.
Command trait extremely bitter. I identify with that.
That's a way of life.
He played Giants at our GT that we had a few weeks ago. It did pretty well. He went 3-2, but I think this is he's tweaked it a little bit. He had some stuff not perform as well as he wanted it to, so he's gonna play like a different version of it and see how it goes. And I'm excited to see how he does with it. It's a really cool list. And it's a handful on a lot of these objectives because they can ignore the objective rules. And that's always hard to play against.
Yeah, this is a good packet for that. This is a good packet for Giants. A lot of these 3 objectives in the middle of the table that Giants can just say, that's my objective. Pretty cool.
And then because I think he ran War Stompers last time, but now he's running the Gatebreaker sub-faction.
And he's all the way down in 1952, so he's like, it's my triumph. Thanks.
No CP. Fuck CP. I don't need
it. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to give the triumph away. It's my triumph. Cool. He's got it all fully painted too, so that's another army that'll be in the painted hat for Andrew to decipher. Who's next? Old Mr. Eric Denny, aka Gaming Denny. So been real active in the Discord lately. And he I think he streams Total War, right?
Yeah.
So and this will be his first tournament coming out, and we'll be excited to have him. Seems like a cool guy. I haven't got to meet him in person yet, but I'm sure everyone there will get to say hi. Everybody be gentle with Eric. It'll be his first game, so don't pound his face too hard. But you don't have your list. Shame on you. So
I see
he does.
to go
He's
over.
got it right here.
Does he?
Yeah, it's a cool it's a Oziark list without the
Oh.
annoying parts of Oziark, which is cool.
I don't see.
He still has a
So-
crawler.
Yeah, I mean, but one crawler, like that's controlled.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I was messing around.
Oh, I hear you.
OBR strong. I don't have the list in front of
So
me
he's got
because
a-
my BCP sucks. But
So
yeah,
he's
go ahead.
playing Steliarch Lords, which is awesome. I like that's the faction that I'm going to be building into. I'm working on my Oziark stuff as well. Pre-game moves. Is he bringing? Okay, so no, he's the battalion is the Dreadlance, which is that new one. It's okay, I guess, with that basically free RDP. I don't know if that really will nudge out in the long haul. If that'll nudge out the standard Death Lance or whatever the other one is, that's made up of the same amount of units. There's a weird call in the Techless book. They gave him a new battalion that was made up of the exact same units as an old battalion, but it didn't do anything to make it viable.
I think because the old battalion, like the other battalion for the Death Riders, if I remember correctly, it basically just gives you the same thing that Steliarch Lords gives you. Like
it did. You're actually right. Yeah, because it gave you. I don't remember, but you're right. It was like Steliarch. I think it gave him a retreat and charge or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was
Lords
the
already does
exact
that.
same thing as their.
So I guess it's some viability in this. Couple of Liege Cavaloses, couple of units of Death Riders is cool. 50 more Tech Guard. We all know how even without the support, they're tough to chew through. I mean, it's insane amount of attacks. Bone Shaper. So he doesn't have the Harvester, but he does have a Bone Shaper that'll sit there and keep him alive. And, empowered Nadirite weapons on 30 more Tech Guard will explode damage onto the table.
Yeah.
So
I think Kevin's in the chat. He plays OBR a lot. If this gets back to old Mr. Gaming Denny,
yeah, he's in the chat.
Get with okay, cool. Get with Kevin. He'll give you some just general tips and pointers on that army. He's been playing it a lot, so he's the resident expert on OBR for sure. And he's always been super helpful with advice and tips and everything. So if you're looking to tweak or just have somebody kind of look at your list, that's your man there.
Mm-hmm. I bounce lists off of him all the time. He works a lot, so we haven't been doing it so much lately, and I've been busy with getting this snake stuff going. But when I first started thinking about OBR, I was bouncing lists off of him, so he knows what he's doing with that army. I saw him actually go into somebody on Facebook one time, giving them the what for. What are you bringing that for?
That's funny. Cool. Who we got next?
The Evan of Miller.
Oh, that's your brother.
Mm-hmm.
He is unfortunately not available to run down his list, but you have played against this list, Ryan, a lot. So kind of let you give your perspective from the outside in on it, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I actually just fought this list twice yesterday.
You've been practicing.
Yeah, it's very good. It makes squigs perform way better than you think they should.
Yeah, agreed.
My Lumineth list has actually lost a few times to his squig list because they're always going most of the time there'll be less drops than you, and no matter how far back you deploy, it's a 24-inch deployment, I should be safe here. No, you're not safe. Don't even bother because yeah, he's got Scragrot, the two Manglers, one of them being the hero. He's got the Cave Squig leader, Squig Herd to fill out the battle line, and then 30 Boingrot Bounders.
Oh yeah, I hate those. I mean, I love them if I was playing them, but I hate seeing them across the table.
In the game yesterday, his Boingrots, he got the run and charge spell on him. He rolled a 12 on the movement, rolled a 6 on the run, immediately moved all the way. He had the +3 from the Cave Squig. So immediately, immediately ran across, rolled an 11 on the charge, ran in, hit my wardens, and then did the mortal wounds into my Lord Regent and one-shot him.
Solid.
Yeah, and then
Super solid.
killed 9 out of the 10 wardens, even when I popped their Aether Quartz, and they were -1 to hit.
Yeah, I think we're actually grudged up on tomorrow, our first game, so I'm excited to see how it performs. I know it's like super high pressure, turn one in your face list, so we'll see if I can survive and counterpunch and play. But I feel like if you get the rolls you need with the army, you just make it very tough for anything to beat you. So
yeah, because we did shifting objectives. Like, I was trying a Techless list, and both of his manglers made it into me turn 1. Like,
I mean, I played against Kyle Valdez with a very similar list at Masters, and I didn't get, like, long story short, none of my stuff happened that needed to happen. He gave me the turn, and I could have brought down his mangler. My spells didn't go off. A casting value 7 spell with a reroll didn't go off, so the mangler then commenced to going 31 inches across the table and killing all of my heroes on, not all of them, but enough of them, and it was just downhill from there. And then the bounders came in and did the same thing. Mortal wounded my Blood's Crater off the table, and it was just
They hurt. Like those, like they have basically like the Evocator mortal wounds where they just run into you, and on the charge they roll a dice for every model in the unit, and every 4-up is a mortal.
Yeah, very strong.
And the cool part is it happens on the charge. So it's like you look at the Bloodstalkers or the Blood Sisters that I run, that happens on a 3-up, but it happens at the end of combat. So you have an ability to punch some of them down. No, they just come in and do mortal wounds on the charge. And only one model has to get in. So with their flying, they move like they fly. So it's like screens. You better know how to screen against this army.
Very difficult to screen this from what I tried. Like the second time I fought him, I tried out a list that I've been trying, like that I put together with the new stuff. It's like 110 wounds of Lumineth. Like it's probably one of the largest lists I've made. And like, I basically had to deploy where I was like 30 inches away from him. And like I said, he still managed to get one of those squigs into me. But I just had the Wardens and Sentinels like back to back, so there was like no gaps for him to like charge over things.
Yeah.
And game 1 is shifting objectives, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's going to be a tough one because you got nowhere to hide.
Well, he hit units I had it on the edge of the table. Like, from one side to the other with his manglers. He hit my Sentinels in the back.
Yep.
I was like, well, there's nothing I could have done about that.
No, I mean, that's how good that army is.
He didn't fall for my bait. I left an opening in the line where Techless was. I left, like, a big, nice opening where the mangler could go. And, like, right behind my wall of other units, I had the Cathaler hiding behind them, just, like, waiting. But he didn't.
That only works once.
It only works so many times.
Like,
it was worth a shot.
I know what that does. Like,
you never know.
Kyle knows what goading arrogance does, don't you, Kyle?
You never know.
800-point model doing nothing.
That's cool. It's gonna be fun. Then I guess I'm next, so we'll see the other half of the round 1 matchup here. I'm playing Calibron Doc. It's got some similarities to Brian's list. Where it differs is the sub-faction and a lot of the units outside of Marathi. So I went all bow snakes, and I'm in Calibron. So I'm really teching for the like counterpunch more so than being proactive with my damage like he can be with Blood Sisters and the run and charge. I don't have that. So I just have shooting and teleporting. Marathi's still there, so it's a very hard, big centerpiece to move. And she can get stuff done in melee. That's kind of the only source of reliable melee that's in my list. And I'm kind of just relying on my ability to play the entire board well because of how mobile I am and pick at the parts of the army that are weak because I have all the range damage, so I don't have to get into combat to kill your things. So it's less damage, but it's precision damage. So it lets me bypass a lot of what makes other armies work or sometimes a lot of armies are built on being very strong in one spot, and I can play around your strong spot. I can just pick at what isn't strong.
Sounds
So I like that a lot about it. I don't have the toughness from Hagnar, so it's just something that I have to give up if I want to play Calibron. But I think it has some play. I haven't played any games with new Calibron, so I'll be excited to kind of see how it performs, see what it does that I think it can do, and then how it differs from what I think it can do at the same time. So it'll be fun. 2-drop, so I'm dictating turn order a lot of the time. The 1980, so I'm getting the Triumph a lot of the time. So I like both of those things a lot. A lot of people overlook those things, and I think they're very important to the game. So I prioritize those in list building.
I always forget them. Even
No,
when I made
I
sure
like
that
a Triumph.
I get it, I forget it.
I really like getting it, but I don't think you really have 60 or 50 points to give up with the Hagnar build that I'm running. I just, with them nerfing prayers, I have to bring 2 hags.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're playing, that's definitely the tech that you switch to if you're playing Hagnar. And if Calibron doesn't do as well as I think it can, that's what I'm going to wind up playing probably is like double Queen in Hagnar. Because if you double up on your Witch Brew, then you get 2 chances at it. And that's
statistically,
really,
you should get 1 off on turn 1.
Yeah, and it's just important. Like, it's good for Marathi, it's good for your units. Like, it's even good for like the bow snakes. Like, if you're rerolling wounds in combat, they still have a lot of attacks, and they can still take Mind Razor. So it can still be a really brutal unit in combat. I don't have that in Calibron, so
Yeah, I mean, neg 1, 2 damage on the charge. If you have to go knock a unit off of an objective, that 10-man unit of Stalkers, if Marathi's in combat too, is going to put out 30 attacks in combat, 31 with the leader. Neg 1, 2 damage in combat.
32.
Yeah, 32.
She has 2 attack profiles, so you add 1 to each. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still a lot of, I mean, it's still got combat potential.
Yeah.
So it's really nuts.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. The FAQs have kind of made me like, they're subtle FAQs, but they wind up being very disruptive to my list building a lot of the time because it's like very specific interactions that the army relies on, and every time they've released an FAQ for it, they've kind of jacked with those interactions. So I'm kind of trying to find a spot where I'm happy with the tools I have. And I'm not ever going to have everything I want in the book because that's just how the doc book is set up. I think it's better for the book because you can go any direction you want with doc and be happy. Like, it's not just Calibron and Hagnar. There's other options too. So I'm excited to see how this permutation performs for sure. And I have a really tough matchup round 1, so immediately I'll get to stress test the army for sure. So
yeah, and a good player, a good list. It's going to be, you're going to be putting it through its paces. Or Evan will be putting it through its paces.
When those manglers
y'all have any
strength of your snakes.
any input from the outside looking in?
Oh,
I only see my perspective. What do you?
Well, and I think I like it. I do like having the 15. I mean, where our list really differs is I want melee snakes in my list. And so I go Hagnar. I mean, that's the difference. And by going Hagnar, I need more hags, and I need the Blood Rack Shrine. So it bumps me up. I was playing 3-drops too, and it was fun to be able to dictate turn order, but I have a few more screening bodies than you do. So I think, but I like yours. It's so, I mean, the amount of damage that those 20 snakes are going to put out, it's creepy. It's sneaky good. I mean, I don't even know if it's sneaky good at this point anymore. Everybody knows snakes are good now, right?
Yeah,
but
a lot of damage. It is, the hero phase has to be accounted for too. Like, it's only like pretty good damage if I'm just doing it in my own shooting phase. Whereas if you're within range of me in my hero phase, I get an extra activation, which is critical to how the army performs. So
yeah, that's what I noticed with it. I mean, even that 5 block of snakes, if they're the only thing that's in range of your opponent, because you're basically doing it for free, it's worth it just making that 5-man unit shoot twice. I mean, it's still 20 shots. I mean, I was picking apart. I was playing Kyle the other day, and I was picking apart a hell pit with a 5-man unit of snakes And by the time it got close enough to even bother me, it was down to 3 wounds with healing. So
What's the range on your that new spell that Teclis has got that doesn't let me use command abilities? What's the range on that?
It's 12 inches.
Yeah, a lesser player would let you do that to the small Marathi. That's not going to happen if we play. Just so you know.
Is it on the small Marathi? Is it not on both of them?
Yeah, it's not on both. So the small one has the casting and the command ability.
And the big one has heart render.
And another interesting tidbit is the way that the Calibron teleport is worded. Is the general can use the teleport, and Marathi counts as an extra general. So the small one can also be a source of the teleport too. It's a nice little. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean that tech in our lists are pretty good. Like, because Marathi is always kind of just hovering around things that might die or that might take some damage, and if your Witch Brew doesn't go off, then you have Marathi there in range a lot of times to be the general and keep a unit on the board from battle shock. So, and then with the free command ability, I noticed that I was stacking command points. Like, if I'm not necessarily in a position to run in charge or run and shoot a unit, I don't necessarily need to get my damage through. Like, I had 3 command points at the start of turn 2. So it was really easy to stack CP. And late game, when you need them.
A lot of how Daughters operates too, you wind up not using CP a lot of the time because you reroll ones on your runs and your charges and your hits by the time you get accelerated into the mid game, which Hagnar happens to turn earlier. So a lot of, like, if you can just not force engage on turn 1 with Hagnar, you just wind up not being able to use that CP for other things because you have so much redundancy built into a lot of those smaller CP command abilities that you would use.
Mm-hmm.
So
and mathematically, one of your units, if you got 2 hags per turn, it's going to be battle shock immune. So you can play around having to use that CP.
Yeah, for sure. So that's my stuff. And we'll keep it moving. To James West is next. And this is a list that Brian's played against a few times. I think Ryan has as well. So y'all both have better perspective than me, so I'll kind of let y'all take it.
Ryan, you can go ahead. We talked a whole lot. You haven't talked much.
Yeah, I fought this list. This list is interesting because I fought it 2 times. The first time me and James played, like, just we were just playing a practice game, and it was Lumineth v Nurgle, and he slammed everything into me right in the beginning, and my line held, and I was able to just, like, Searing Light and just kind of push them back in the middle, and I was able to push out a win against that game. And then when we went to when we were actually playing at the tournament later that week, I couldn't do any damage to him the entire game because he just made every field no pain he could. Yeah, and I was like, well, there's nothing I can do here because you've just negated all the damage I've done all game.
It's the best strategy in the game. Just roll good.
Yep. It's like there's nothing I can do about that. My mortals don't matter if you can negate them all.
And it's low drop too. He's going to dictate it.
Mm-hmm.
And not only negating mortals, but he's also going to be bouncing them back to you with that Plague Touch Warband. That is a nasty good battalion. Like, when you're rolling 6s to wound, you're going to put them back. You're going to put... And then blades. That's a big tech. I've been helping another buddy of mine named Jeff mess around with a similar list. He's using the Knights versus the Chosen, which is...
Yeah, he's actually next on the list.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. But that
rehash a lot.
Yeah, so that
spell
Plague Touch Battalion is nuts. You get punished for rolling good, and if you're not familiar with my dice, I punish myself a lot. So I roll a lot of dice, and I roll a lot of 6s. Like, there was one game where Jeff and I were playing, and it was either a miss or a 6. Like, it was nuts, the amount of wounds I put back in I think I killed 9 combat snakes out of the
solid
15 by just doing damage back to myself. Yeah. Now, congratulations, you rolled good. You killed my unit, but yours is dead too. And I can't trade with this list. Like, I can't trade unit for unit. It's going to be it'll be a difficult task if I get paired up.
An interesting tidbit about his list that's different than Jess is with Blades of Putrefaction, and if he has extra CP to spend on his Chosen with the Glotkin, he's got like 4 attacks per Chosen, and they already do mortals on a 6. And he'll be re-rolling all hits and wounds if he gets the spells he wants. So he'll be doing 2 mortals, I think, in addition.
Yes.
To his normal damage, and with 4 attacks each on those Chosen. So don't think that those Chosen don't do anything, because if he gets his buff stack train off and those get into combat, they're just going to kill whatever they're in combat with. Like,
yeah, and like to go into what Ryan said, like I ran 3 Vanguard into one of them at one of the tournaments last year and just bounced off of it. And if you're familiar with Nurgle marked Vanguard with Fell Spears with Archaon in Host of the Everchosen, they don't bounce off of much.
Yeah.
So they hit those and bounce, and I was like, well, this is going to be another one of those me versus James 5 rounders that I'm going to sweat the whole time. So
you like a gallstone.
Yeah,
right?
I was actually passing a gallstone at the same time. Didn't realize it yet. And 2 weeks later, I had my gallbladder removed because of it. Yeah, it was.
It turns out you're not supposed to feel like you're dying. Like that means something's bad if your insides hurt bad enough to think that you're dying.
Yeah, I reached for my Archaon one time, and I was like, "Oh God, James, can you just move that for me? Somewhere over there, I'll do."
Yeah, no, those Chosen are pretty scary. Like, I think in the first game, the way I dealt with them was the typical, like, I hate you, Lumineth, was that I did the Voice of the Mountains. I did some damage to them with some Dawn Riders, and they like almost one-shot a unit of Wardens, but there was like 2 models left, and I passed their Battle Shock off onto the Chosen.
Yeah.
You lost like 5 or 6 Chosen to Battle Shock.
And at a glance, to an uneducated player, the list looks slow, but
it is not.
He'll have a tree on the board before long. They're going to run in charge. And he can take up a lot of board space with this unit. It's insane how much board space he takes up with this army. And it's tough to play. He's got summoning for late game stuff. Blades is an insane spell. Grandfather's Blessing lets him manipulate that wheel, up or down by 1. It's Plague Squall's another one of those really swingy spells, but it's awesome when you see it finally go off. When he picks up 7 dice and rolls 4 6s and gets to pick 4 units on the board, he gets to basically Comet Skull 4 units he can see on the board, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of good stuff in here. It'll be a fun tournament. There's some heat coming. So all the new guys, don't stress if you get your shit pushed in, because there is some heat coming to this tournament.
That's one way to put it.
I mean, I think that was one of the first things I said to you the first time we met. Like, don't worry, it happens to all of us. We all get. I mean, the first game I ever played with Gavin, I had a Terrorgeist kill half of my army before I ever touched a model of mine other than deployment.
You put the 6 jugs behind 6 jugs.
Yeah, you were like, hey, you know what Terrorgeist do? And I'm like, and you explained it to me, obviously, and I was like, all right, cool, sounds good. These guys have a 2+ save. It'll be fine. Nope. 18 mortal wounds followed by a second pile in and another 18 mortal wounds. So I lost 18 wounds worth of 2+ save. So 360 points worth of models before I ever got to move. Or at the time, they were more than that, I think. I don't remember what they were back then. 320. It was a lot of points. It was the first time I ever played against Feck at that time, which it turned out I played another Feck guy we were prepping for a GT, and on that same mission I got another Feck guy and had a really good game. Came down to like turn 5 priority roll, but because I had seen it in that exact same mission, I knew how to deal with it, or at least how to attempt to deal with it. Because back then, a Terrorgeist, you might have the tools to deal with it and still not be able to deal with it.
Yeah, the double turn potential. Real nice.
Yeah, you get double turned by a Terrorgeist, he just eats your whole army.
And then James is fully painted too, and he's got a bunch of. I think he's converted most of his army. He's converted Stormcast, so it's actually like a really cool looking army too. It's always cool when he busts it out. But,
yeah, a lot of conversions on it. Super cool.
But I think next is your buddy Jeff, right? So let
Jeff.
you run his list down.
All right, he's got a similar thing. He's running the Glockkin. Almost the exact same thing, except a few things switched around with. So he doesn't bring the big block of Chaos Warriors. He's got a bunch of small blocks of Chaos Warriors, and then 2 big blocks of Chaos Knights. And playing against this army is going to teach you that screens are still important, because if you leave your shit open, 10 Knights are going to kill it. Like, whatever it is, 10 Knights are going to come kill it. Going to get a tree pretty early, if not turn 1. He's going to run and charge. He's got the cool thing is he's running the Carcatrack Lord to help buff the Knights, and he's got the Realm of Metal artifact on him, so he ignores Neg 1 Rend in general. So that's pretty cool on him, making him a little more tanky. Blades of Putrefaction is there. And he went away from the Grandfather's Blessing because the list doesn't necessarily rely on what some of the other ones need to do as far as manipulating that wheel and getting the extra movement. Because Knights are just so much faster in general.
Mm-hmm.
But same thing. Knights on the charge, Neg 2 Rend, 2 damage, 6 is going to do mortal wounds. In addition, it's got a War Shrine in there to help. So he's got 2 sources. He's got a Chaos Sword and a War Shrine in there with sources of hit rerolls and save rerolls, or pluses to save, and then got the save rerolls from the sorcerer. It's really good Nurgle list. Similar to the one he played at our Rumble in the Jungle that we had, and it's got speed. It hits hard. It can be tanky if it needs to. The Glockkin, I mean, if you haven't tried to kill a Glockkin, good luck. That game that James and I played, I just ignored his Glockkin. I was like, and I had Archaon, by the way. It was like, and I still ignored it. Like, so.
Ironically, I've actually killed the Glockkin twice. One time was against James, and then at one of the Ogre tournaments, Teclis actually got in melee with him and killed.
Teclis is a brute, man. I did kill Jeff's the other day. I killed it with a buffed up Iron Rack Shrine. Went in there and just tore him apart. But it was after a little while of shooting him and getting enough chip damage through that. I think he was only on like 8 or 9 wounds, but then the just knocked my thing down. But yeah, the Medusa went in there and did some work. So, but it's a tough list, real good list. Fast as all hell, and if I get paired up with it, I'm not looking forward to it, because in most of these missions, he'll just be in my face turn 1. So that's all I got to say on it. If you guys got more, I think we broke everything down.
Yeah, we got most of it. We can kind of move on to another new player, I believe. I haven't personally seen him in any of these tournaments. Josh Keaton. He is playing Beast of Chaos. So it'll be another new guy for everybody to welcome.
I think he did come one time. Didn't he come one time with KO? He was the one that had...
Was it?
I have no idea. Maybe.
Yeah, I think he was the one that had that really cool converted KO with the like Kraken style tentacles coming up as the Warp Lightning Vortex.
Yeah, if that's the same guy I'm thinking of, I do know him. He's a cool guy. It'd be cool to see him back out. It's been a while. I think it was like last February or something is when that tournament was. It was a while ago. So that'll be cool for him to come back out. Well, he's bringing Beast of Chaos this time. Got the Cave Spawn, and then just a big pile of Beast of Chaos stuff.
You know what you want
He's
to
got
say.
Yeah.
That is so much
A different
shit.
pile, right?
That is so much shit.
Yeah, 183 wounds is a lot.
Oh, geez.
He's got a desolating beast herd too, so he's really low drop. He might actually be like a 2 or 3 drop with this list. I don't know off the top of my head,
Oh my.
but ton of bodies, low drop, and has outflanking, so it's faster than you think. So, I mean, the list can, if you aren't prepared to play against this list, like, you can really create a lot of different problems for armies that a lot of armies aren't prepared for. A lot of armies don't have like just the raw damage to deal with a list like this, like to get it off the board. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates the missions and his matchups, because I think Beast of Chaos is a little better than the Reputation, but that's just me.
But the bodies, there's so many bodies.
But yeah.
6 Bulgors, 20 Ungors, 30 Ungors, 90 Raiders, 90 Beasagors, 30.
Yeah, one thing that is
30.
of the missing that I see, I think gave Spawn Chaos Spawn is what the command ability is tied to, and that lets you add attacks to a unit within a certain range. And I don't see a Chaos Spawn in his list. I think he can summon them from his dead heroes, but that'd be one thing that if you're watching, Josh, would be something to maybe consider adding, because that'll help a lot of these Bulgor units out that have multiple attack profiles, and also your Beastigors just get better with extra attacks too. So that'll help your damage a little bit. He's got the Wildfire Taurus, so if he hits something, he can go into that unit with his entire army because it's fighting last. It's really nice. The Oregon's got decent damage for a monster, especially at 160 points. It's not a terrible buy. And the Mind Stealer Sphinx has him doubling up with kind of what the Wildfire Taurus does, where he picks a unit in his hero phase to fight last also. So he's got a lot of those mechanics in his list, which can be more and more useful as the game goes on, and everything kind of gets stuck in the middle, especially with all these bodies being everywhere and making it hard to maneuver. Like, he can kind of apply those two mechanics better than at the start of the game. So it'd be cool to see how he navigates. I think it's got potential.
Whew, it's a lot of bodies. Like, I know the word on the street is that it's Beast of Chaos, so don't worry about it. But that's a lot of bodies to chew through. And where the meta is shifting to where the top tier armies are more elite and have about a certain amount of damage that they can put out a turn.
Oh, we got
it ain't this much.
Mr. Rutherford's in the chat answering all the questions. Yeah, when are you gonna come down and play, dude? I haven't had to play Ryan yet. I hear everyone tells me that he's an awesome guy, great player, and plays everything and plays everything well. So that's a guy I've been wanting to play for a while. So if you can, try and make it to some of our tournaments. It'd be cool to see you come down.
Yeah, it's just a ton of bodies, man. I mean, like I said, I mean, most of these, our armies in particular, we have a certain amount of damage we're putting out a turn, and it ain't this much damage a turn. Like,
oh no, I see a lot of units on there. That makes me a little happy.
Yeah. Dude, you're get out of jail free. Searing Light, tactical outmaneuver, dude. Yeah. We know. We're gonna get to your list, and you can gloat about how you have more army abilities than all other 15 of these armies combined put together. We'll get there. You just got to be patient. That's all. But but that's the Beast of Chaos list. That'll be cool. And next up is Mr. Grimmager. That is another dear friend of the Harambe's Heroes. And he's bringing what he brought to the tournament at our GT a couple weeks back. And it's the Big Wah Double Crusher, like pretty standard.
The Double Draw Crusher list?
Yeah, he's not playing Big Wah. I'm sorry. He's playing Iron Jaws. He's taking even more into fast combat damage than Big Wah does. So this puts a ton of pressure into your army turn one. And it all comes from these two Maw Crushers and these. The Gore Grunters can also do some work as they get in, because those Maw Crushers draw so much attention. But that's the engine that runs this list, is these two Maw Crushers most of the time. And it's a brutal list. If it gets to dictate damage, and it usually does because of how fast it is, he can really chew your army up, especially on like double turns. It'd be really hard to deal with.
Yeah, his list, I'm naming it Draw Crusher from now on until he comes to an event and doesn't get 2 draws.
Cool. That's his list. What's next?
Raw with freaking iron jaws and
No, he got 2.
Mr. Corcoran.
Yeah, but especially with corn.
Senor Corcoran, after much deliberation and after much pouting about how bad Skaven is and Molder is and how it's terrible and never works, he has accepted that it's terrible and is bringing it anyways, which we appreciate.
Yes.
It's always fun to see Skaven because you just don't see it anymore because of how bad the book has been chewed at over the course of the past year or so. It's still got a lot of play. I think this list is good. It's just got some limitations. But I know that Brian's been playtesting a lot against it. It'll kind of let you give the first-hand account.
I love it that he's bringing Molder. The hell pits are awesome. I like them. So the tech in here is that everything can come back. Like everything you kill, it can come back. He's had a bad run at bringing things back, but it's got gnaw holes, so it
doesn't go to our tactical school rolling good. You need to take our classes. Yeah, they're $100 per hour, and we teach you to roll good. So you should get in on that.
So everything can come back. I mean, he's got the gnaw holes. So the cool tech with this list is you can forget about something and be mid-board and be like, I don't have to watch that gnaw hole anymore. And then he brings a unit of rat ogres back and punches them right through a gnaw hole into your back objective that you weren't worried about anymore. And now he owns like every objective you thought was safe. So there's some tech in here. If he can get the rolls that he needs, like a hell pit is going to punch anything it hits off the board. And he's got 2 of them. And he's got Death Frenzy, and he's got a lot of healing. A lot of the Master Molders give a lot of buffs to the entire army. And he's got some redundancy with having 2 of those, so that's cool. A decent amount of magic for only having that one little caster, but it's not, I mean, I say decent amount. The magic that he has is good. It's concentrated, but it's good with Death Frenzy. And Death Frenzy, if you never fought Death Frenzy and you think you're going to be able to shoot your way out of Death Frenzy, it'll still pile in and kill you in the shooting phase. So, pretty cool. I like the list. I'm glad he's bringing it. We played a game yesterday, or the day before, can't remember now, at Atomic, and it was a fun game. It went into 4, and I think like everything I killed, unfortunately for him, everything I killed he was able to bring back except the hell pits. So
it's the record
curse.
Yeah,
curse.
So it's scary. It's a scary list. Like you don't want it getting into you. It's got plenty of screens with those big blocks of giant rats.
Yeah.
It poses a question for lists like ours. Like like I had to play a lot differently. So I like the list a lot. I like what it does. It just, like I said, I mean, honestly, I think it's where Doc's going to be in another 6 months if they keep adding a nasty nerf every month for the next 6 months. So it seems to be the pace they're on since they released the Meraki book. They've nerfed it every month since then. So
once a month, dude. Like, what are they gonna do this month?
Well, they're gonna say the prayer nerf wasn't enough. You just don't get them anymore. Like no more prayers.
Let's delete the table. You'll get one in your next book.
Now Luke knows their prayers. Now they have
prayer nerf. Yeah, the prayer nerf is so funny. Like if you look at, I think there's 20 war scrolls in the book, and the prayer nerf directly nerfs 9 of the war scrolls in the book.
Yeah, well, joke's on you, GW. I don't even have prayers, so haha, beat that. Can't nerf what I don't have.
Yeah, I've been a prayer guy since way back, since Corn. You know, I mean, I like the dependability of those prayers, but it's okay. But I like this. Kyle's a great person to play against. Even if you pound on him, he's going to give you a fun game no matter what.
Yeah, I fought that list when I was first learning Lumineth, and his rat ogres killed Teclis. He shot him to death with rat ogres.
Excellent.
And then Altharian carved a bloody path through the rest of his army.
Yeah, it's funny how old Mister the Light will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought it up. That's a great transition point because you're next on the list.
Nice segue.
And before Brian complains, I'll let you defend yourself. I'm finally gonna let you. We've gone undefended for the longest time. All we've done is complain for the past 5 or 6 episodes. So go ahead, defend yourself, and then Brian will retort.
No salt today. Minimal.
Well, I have nothing to defend. Everyone's complaints are valid in some way or another.
There we go.
There
you go.
I never want it to seem like I'm protecting them because I understand how this army plays and I understand how it makes people feel. So, but yeah, they need a buff, obviously. Right? Anywho, but yes, sure. I have new units in this list. It's still pretty similar to the old tech list, SIR list I was running before, but now I have a 10 block of Blade Lords in there, and I also have the Sonari Lore Seeker. Which I know we're gonna cover Lumineth a bit later, so if we just want to get into that later, we can.
No, you can break it down.
You can kind of break down what you have now, and then we can hit up, the blind spots later.
Okay. Well, the Blade Lords, they're a new elite infantry that Lumineth have. 2 wounds, 4-up save. They have a built-in 4-up magic negate for some reason. And they have a 2-up wound pass off for any Sonari heroes within 3 inches of them. And the real special thing with the Blade Lords is they get to choose which attack profile they'll use based on basically based on what they're fighting. They have either Perfected Strike or Flurry of Blows, where Flurry is you roll your attack characteristic is equal to the amount of enemy models within 2 inches of each Blade Lord model. So a horde clear kind of attack where it's 3s, no ren, 1 damage.
It really helped them out because one of the big problems they had before was their horde clearance in general. That's kind of something that they didn't do as well into. So that unit, I think, will be, if people play it, which I'm not convinced yet that everyone's going to jump to them, but the people who do play it, I think, is going to give them a tool that a lot of the normal Lumineth doesn't have. So I think it has play for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually really like the Blade Lords. Like I said, I've gotten a few practice games in with them, and they've done really well.
Big surprise.
We're going to go into the other part of them that I know is I'm watching the chat right now, so I'm waiting for this. They have what's called a Perfected Strike, where it's 1 attack each, 2 attacks for the leader. They don't make a hit roll. They just automatically hit. And they are 2 to wound, -2 ren, 1 damage. So, finally have something I can swing into Arcade on and not have to roll my 6s and, reflect.
Yeah.
Because, haha, they don't even do mortal wounds.
Yeah, I do think that is a good in between where if you're going to give them auto hits, at least that they're not auto hitting into mortals. That's nice. At least it makes you choose between what you want, right?
Yeah.
You're not just pounding people with auto hit mortal wounds that would. I don't know if GW could survive. They might just mob up and show up at GW headquarters and be like, yeah.
Yeah, no, that because I thought maybe they would have mortals on the flurry, but I think they chose not to because it's if that were the case, you would probably just choose to do the flurry every time.
And it's just too many dice. It would be insane amount of mortal wounds.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I think it's fine the way they did it. It gives some really cool tech that, Gavin said, the Lumineth didn't have before. One of the tools they didn't have for dealing with hordes or any trying to chunk through something that a big tanky hero that maybe had a feel no pain versus specifically mortal wounds. Kind of gives.
Zach just brought up the ironclad interaction too.
Yes. Yes, and apparently a fully loaded ironclad, if you do the flurry strikes into the ironclad, the unit does 260 attacks. because it counts for every model inside the Ironclad.
Nothing to see here. It's fine. Rules as intended.
Yeah. The Lore Seeker is actually, pun intended, unique in that he is actually a unique character that is not named. So he doesn't get to bring artifacts or command traits, but he doesn't have a name or anything special. But
Bob, that will be his name.
Bob,
the objective stealer from this point forward.
Yeah, he's a very special mage in that he's got a really good melee profile for being a mage, because he's got a shooting attack that's 2 attacks, 3s, -1 D3 damage at 18 inches. And his melee profile is 4 attacks at 2s, 3s, -1 D3 damage. And he's a 6 wounds, 4 up save, but he's a 3 up save if there's no friendly units within 9 inches of him. So he works a lot. He works better when he's by himself.
Remember when the only thing
does
that
he get access to? I'm sorry.
Huh?
I was going to ask what lore he has access to.
He has access to the Lore of Hysh.
Because when he pops up, I mean, theoretically, you pop up in your opponent's deployment zone, right? So you could pop up within range of a lot of those spells.
Yes.
If you have the drops to dictate.
Yeah, so the way his ability works is that you have to, when you're deploying, you have to decide whether he's going to use his ability or not. And when he does, like, he basically goes into Deep Strike. And so you do it at the start of the first battle round, or like at the first of the start battle round before you determine who gets the first turn. You have to deploy him, and if he chooses this, and he can't deploy in friendly territory. It just says so you can deploy in any enemy territory, or if there's territory that no one is in, he can deploy in that too. But he can set up more than 3 inches away from an enemy unit. And if he sets up within 6 of an objective, he automatically gains control of it if there's no enemies within 6 of it. And they can't take it until he leaves from 6 inches from it. Just, fuck you, giants. This is mine.
Go ahead and be standing there when Jerome Watkins starts stomping through there.
Yeah, no, he'll definitely still die. If you paired him with Sanctum, maybe not, but
remember when it was only like horde models with shitty attack profiles that hit on 2s? Now we got all this fucking neg 2 rend shit hitting on 2s. Like, like hit on 2s, neg 2 rend. I mean, it's cool. It's whatever. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. And Teclis has 22 spells now. Total.
Yeah. Easy, dude. And a hero phase teleport. Fun.
Yes.
So in case you thought his spells were oppressive before when he had to cast them from his own deployment zone, well, they fixed that problem for Lumina. He can just teleport himself wherever he wants now.
They considered it a problem. They were like, we must.
Yeah, like, why can't he do everything all the time in every hero phase? We'll just make him cast a hero phase teleport so he can redeploy as the game goes on and, do any one of these, like he's got like the issue now, like what do you cast with him? Even though he has 4 auto casts, like there's so many strong spells that like it's hard to choose.
Yeah, that's probably the thing I've been running into. I've said that it's a drawback, but not really, because you have 20. You're sitting there just with 22 spells. Like, what the fuck do I cast? Like, there's so many of these spells are important. Like, what do I cast? It's like, I bet everyone else in the game is like, yeah, yes, of course. What a nice problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot of shit, but I'm not stressing it. I think, unfortunately, they're priced very, like, financially they're expensive. Points-wise in the game, they're kind of cheap, but don't expect it to last forever. They're an aggressive points cost at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I don't know how you start messing with it and still make Teclis builds viable. If he was in that 800-point realm where he should be, where it feels like he fits into an Archaon or a Nagash type role in an army, if you aggressively point everything else up, what do you have left? Do you have a 60 wound army? You know?
Yeah. The issue with Lumineth in general is like you say they're cheap, which some of them are, because like saying the Blade Lords being 120 for 5 is like really, really cheap for a 2-wound unit. But like
it's very similar to Marathi also. Like the argument could be made that Marathi's undercosted as well, but like what happens if I think even more so than like, because with Lumineth you'll have options to fall back on. Right now it feels like most of your options in dock are tied to Marathi. So if she winds up getting points increased, I don't know what that's going to do to the army as a whole as far as competitive viability. It's still going to be a great army, like aesthetically, and it'll still be, have strong elements. But right now, it's a competitive army at the top tables, and I don't know if it will be if Marathi's like 800 points.
Yeah, because luckily the new stuff for Lumineth does give a lot of options of not using Techless. Like they've even almost seemingly added options that were meant to be like, hey, like run this without Techless. Like, So, like that would suck because, I love my boy Techless, but at the same time, I understand he's really, really good. So, we'll see what they do with the army in the future. I consider most of their units to be pretty expensive, not from like being overcosted. It's just they're all very good units, and so so they're going to be priced that way. Like, and some of them arguably should be more. And it's just that you're already so low.
Well, it's a fine line. I agree with you 100%. It's a fine line. Like, what do you do points wise that doesn't just turn the army unplayable with Techless? And I'm all for seeing our big monsters on the table, our big centerpiece models. So, and as I'm always talking bad about Lumineth, like I'm going to defend it for a second. Like, when have we ever played Age of Sigmar and not had something at the top that we were punching up against? Like, there's always been something there.
Yeah. At least this army is difficult to play. Like, you have to like know how to use your resources, and you have a lot of them, a lot to track. It's not like where Feck was, where when on Feck release, like it was the strongest thing in the game by far. Like maybe even worse than Lumineth is right now relative to the game state, and it was also easy to play. Like the way that it was being played was 2 Terror guys. It was old Doppelganger Cloak, so you always became untargetable, started combat, and you always fought first with the other one in both turns. So, like, if you couldn't figure out how to win with those 2 things, like,
and at the time,
like that,
like every 50 points,
it was too strong
at the time,
and everything did damage through combat.
Well, everything also every 50 points you were playing down netted you a CP back then too. So they were playing at like 1,800 points and starting the game with like 4 CP.
Yeah, I think that's an actual broken game state, and I don't know if this is that, but it is.
It is very strong though. Like
there's a chasm in between Lumineth and a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, because right now that Techless list specifically is only 87 wounds. Even the old one I had with the Shield Eels was only like 93. Like
at least you don't have to like pack a bunch of dice and shit in your car to come to a tournament. You just play without them now with Blade Lords and Techless.
Hey, I roll a lot of dice.
I'm kidding. The chat was talking about the chat was talking about dice rolls, so I figured we could go there.
Yeah. Hey, I roll a lot of dice on Searing Light, especially if you have a lot of units for me.
Oh yeah.
But that covers most of the Venari stuff, and we'll kind of hit the other stuff afterwards. We'll get to these guys' lists.
Yeah,
I think a couple of them are waiting, so we'll do those real quick, and then we'll finish up with some more salt because everyone loves it, right?
Yeah.
But next up is Mr. Sean Imperial. I think he's actually roommates with Gaming Denny, so both of them will be cool to have at this tournament. I think this will be their first tournament for both of them. He's got some Stormcast, so I'm not too versed up on Stormcast. I know Brian played around a lot with Stormcast list building for a while, so I'll kind of let you run through it.
Yeah, I'm not.
These are some familiar elements, right?
Yeah, when I went heavy into Stormcast, I did Ambles, which was cool, but I went into the standard, the Amble double shoot with long range bows. I think the trouble that is here. I mean, first off, I'm just happy to have him out. Like him and Gaming Denny have been really active in the chat lately, and it'll be cool to get him out here. But Stormcast in general, I think, like I talked about, I told him the other day, like, or maybe earlier today, he was talking about not knowing where he wanted to go hobby wise after this was done, and I kind of recommended that he just hang with it because Stormcast, they have decent combat units. They have decent shooting units. They have decent magic. They have the tools that are maybe like a book update away from being good because they got some of that old warning or old wording.
Third edition is going to give them a new box set, I bet. If I was a betting man, there's been one consistent through all of these new Age of Sigmar boxes. I don't know if you've noticed, but half of it's always been gold. And I don't know if that's going to change. So there'll probably be some more Stormcast stuff.
I mean, I don't even think they necessarily need any new units. I think they just need some updated, not necessarily, just bring them current. Just bring the War Scrolls current, like Sequitors, like re-rolling failed saves. That wording should go away.
I said that wrong the entire time. It's Gaming Den, not Denny Den. So I can stop screwing that up.
Oh, is it? My bad.
There's an E at the end.
It's like it's a French spelling. It's like that, dude. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oui.
Yeah, I mean he's got the Lord Arcanum, which is cool.
Mind block staff.
I don't know. I can't tell you where he's going with this, other than this being the stuff he owns right now.
It's very melee heavy.
Yeah, I mean, but
I think one thing that might improve this list building a little bit is maybe switching to hammers and adding in Gabriel Sureheart.
Yeah, Gabriel.
Because coming out of Deep Strike with a lot of these units and guaranteeing that charge will help you apply your game plan with what you're trying to do with this army a lot better. But I mean, Anvils also has really good rules, and there's still good options here. But that's one thing that I could see that maybe could make the list a little bit more reliable as far as. I'm not even sure if that's what he wants out of the list, but
yeah, I look forward to talking to him and why he went with Anvils in this particular. This looks like a Hammers of Sigmar army to me.
Yeah.
This looks like a get my unit back on a 5+ kind of army. Deep strike in, charge in, do some damage, lose a unit, get the unit back. That's why. I mean,
doesn't Anvils have a fight in the hero phase thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's there.
Maybe that's the idea.
And the castigators will be able to shoot in the hero phase also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the castigators are there.
Are the castigators there for any reason that I'm unaware of?
They have to fill out the battalion. Yeah.
Like cleansing phalanx? I thought that was just sequitors and evocators.
Maybe not. They do. They shoot, and they're a good buy for the points. And they shoot, and in Anvil's shooting in the hero phase, it's nice. So it's not a terrible take.
No, I'm looking forward to talking to him tomorrow in some list tech and seeing what if it was the fight. I mean, that's always a great ability to have, is fight in the hero phase. The unfortunate part is that you're going to have to survive a round of combat and win a double turn probably to, because you can deep strike all your stuff in, get that first round of combat off, and then survive the backswing and then make it in and make a double turn to actually. But I love the versatility to Stormcast. I have been list building and messing around with it. I think between Gavin and I, we own about 8,000 points of Stormcast. So, and maybe, I know me personally, I've played 2 games with it. So,
I know the castigators are in a lot of the starter kits too. So that would make sense as why he has those as well.
Man, a lot of these lists are like 4 drops.
Yeah. It's a good thing to build towards in list building. Having control of the first turn is underrated.
So Kyle brought it up. The battalion is 2 units of evocators and 2 units of sequitors, and they get to reroll hits and wounds if you empower them.
2 evocators. Oh, I thought it was cool. Like 1 for 1 or something. So that means like one of the evocators and one of the sequitors aren't in there.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll figure it out tomorrow. We'll get to talk to him some more. Unfortunately, Stormcast does not draw my eye. The Eye of Sauron does not go that way because I'm not a fan of their big monster. And I do have a Prime that I've painted up that I really like, but for 300 points, he doesn't do enough for me yet.
My Star Drake's back there, closet, right where
I mean, like I told him today, they have a lot of solid unit choices. They have a lot of cool inherent abilities that being able to deep strike half your army, hide all your good shit, it's awesome. Being able to hide the important stuff off the board, it's awesome. Being able to just come in wherever you want is super cool. I think he just sticks with it, and we're like 2 or 3 months away, or 3 or 4 months away from a brand new edition that will probably boost Stormcast. So,
unless, like someone said in the Discord, the Lumineth are the new Golden Boys, and it'll be the third book of Lumineth to set off 3.0.
I mean,
give me Tyrion. I know I just had to give me my boy Tyrion.
Well, maybe it'll make you stop bringing Teclis so goddamn always.
Leave him alone.
Or
we know he's good.
Tyrion.
We know. Well, okay. Well, yeah, you could do that too.
So I have
then you'll be like 46 wounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be
probably still 46 wounds and 57 rules. So, it'll even out. But next on the docket here, we've got a Seraphon Thunder Lizard being played by Mr. Steven Booker. I don't think I'm familiar with the player, but Thunder Lizard's really, really strong. And the things that jumps out here, the monsters, of course. The Engine of the Gods and the Bastillodon are having extra activations from the Thunder Lizard command ability. You have extra wounds. You got the Old Blood with the extra attacks and damage, and the Star Master that no one can leave home without at this point, I think.
Yep.
And
it's too good.
Some warriors for Battle Line. It looks like he's just trying to fill out a battalion in Battle Line there to help power his monsters, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then make himself low drops, of course.
So he has a unit of Razordons.
Yeah,
that's cool. I'm happy to see that. I like those Razordons.
Yeah, for sure. I figured it would be because he had a Thunderquake battalion, but he just has the Razordon, so that'll be cool to see the one Razordon. Those things are like hideous. The model looks like a dog chew toy.
I like the Bastillodon.
It does
no,
look
not
like something.
The
Razordon.
The Bastillodon's actually
the Razordon. Yeah. Now, at least it's not the Salamander, where it looks like someone clubbed its head in.
The Razordon looks like something out of a shitty blind bag toy.
Yeah, it looks like something that you get then floats in your bathtub for your 3-year-old. Like that's what the model looks like.
A lot of those.
I like the rules on it. It's like an Uzi, man. It just blasts out so many shots.
A lot of really cool stuff. He's got the Star Priest has a Venom, and the Sunblood is making his Saurus better. Those are two cool wrinkles. Engine of the Gods going super fast because of Cloak of Feathers.
He's got 3 bound endless spells.
Yeah, and then he's got the two wizards to cast them. Right? He's got the
he has
the Slan and the Star Priest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That'll be cool. He's got some options with those. The Bound Purple Sun's a nice bound spell because usually one of the weaknesses of the Purple Sun is that you don't want it moving over you, but Bound solves that problem for you. So I like that a lot. Geminids is the same train of thought. 2 very good spells, and Life Swarm will help keep these things in the game too.
Yeah, I mean that's the Life Swarm sitting around the Bastillodons is gonna be tough, because you can't really you got to mortal wound the Bastillodon down, and then if you can't get the damage on it after you mortal wound it down, drops the Emerald Life Swarm, and it goes right back to its 1+ save characteristic that does the opposite of math.
The engine of the Gods heals as well, so it's doubling up.
Yeah, on and that. You can in Thunder Lizard you can spend a CP to do its the Engine of Gods ability again
twice.
Pulse twice, yeah.
Pulse twice. You shoot that stuff twice. I didn't see a lot of Chaos Demons like we normally are used. We're used to always seeing like a couple of little demon lists. I mean, I didn't see many demons that list will take will really hurt. So it's going to be fun. I mean, it's been a while since we saw A Thunderquake
I
battalion.
mean, Bastiladon's just good. Like it's just a lot of
It is.
damage.
It's just good.
There's no priest to make it +1 to hit, but it's still a lot of shots for
Mhm.
sure. And if he gets the magical 18 on his Engine of the Gods, watch out.
Yeah.
That'll be hilarious.
Caleb was
So I'll be waiting to see if that happens.
Caleb was summoned by the mention of Seraphon.
Yes. I think Andrew's in there too. He'll have his opinions. He'll probably be mad that I call his model a chew toy. I'm sorry. You know it's true though.
Like I said, at least it's not the one that has his head clubbed in or the.
Well, but Bastiladons are great models. Like I hope that you guys in the chat didn't confuse us thinking those were terrible.
Yeah,
I
the Bastiladons and Carnos are
I
awesome.
got 2 of them sitting back there on the ground right now. So
Where the stag looks cool, but it also looks like it's in perpetual pain.
I like it. I know. I mean, I don't think it's a lot of people like the Stegodon. I like it.
No, I do. It just looks like
Triceratops was always kind of my favorite little dinosaur growing up. So
I had a good moment with the Steg in my game against Caleb where it was like right towards the end of the game at the GT. He had a 1 wound Stegodon charge into a unit of wardens where there was only 3 models left. He killed 2 of the wardens, and then the last warden swung back and killed the Stegodon. Hold the line.
That's cool. That's the Thunder Lizard. Always good to see Seraphon.
One more. There's one more.
Uno Moss, Mr. Trevor Warts is waffled between a million different lists, and by a million I mean like 2.
Yeah, I was like, this is your territory, Gavin.
Yeah, I guess the Legion of Grief. It's a little different. It's not the Bravery Bomb Legion of Grief that I was playing. It's just playing. It's a lot of Night Haunt with death rules. So Night Haunt with regeneration that you get from Legion of Grief is also really strong, and that's what a lot of this is going to be based around. He steals your CP with Kurdos, and he starts out. Or he doesn't start with CP, he doesn't have a battalion, but he can take your CP and he's going to use that CP to bring these big units back of the Spirit Host, the Chain Refs, and the Blade Guys. And he can also bury those in the underworld and bring them off of the grave sites. So it's oddly fast. It takes the board faster than you think. And it's very tough in general already because of the unrendable saves paired with death saves and then paired with regeneration and also just bringing units back. So Army stays in the game really long if his general stays alive. So
and a powered up.
I think it's got a lot of play. I know he's played this at a lot of GTs, so it'll be a practice army too. And I think he's going to do well with it. I think he's got a lot of really strong things in this army.
Yeah, like the powered up black coach goes running across the board and tears something up. Turn 1 is always a possibility.
I've actually fought the black coach twice now, actually. Same person.
Carroll.
Yeah.
Mr. Bill.
The black coach is one of my favorite models in the game. And we've talked about Night Haunt rules. Like, they're good rules, but there's not enough of them. So we got the army out of 6 out of 10 rated because that's where I personally think it is, because it just doesn't do enough. But I really like this version. It's not Night Haunt, obviously, but I like this version of using the really cool Night Haunt stuff inside of a Death Army, making it being able to be summoned and healed, that kind of stuff. That's super cool.
Yeah, Legion of Grief's really cool, like Blast from the Past type. Like, it was real popular when it came out in, I think, GHB 2019. And it had a lot of play for a while and then kind of went by the wayside. A lot of Death players went to OBR. And you saw a lot of Legion of Grief players transition to OBR. But it's cool to see it busted out again. And it's really strong. And it's not something you see a lot. So it'll have that element too where, it's just an unknown, right? So that's always a good thing to have.
Yeah, if you've only been playing since GHB 2019, you probably hadn't seen this much. So it'll be a difficult thing to play against. If you don't know everything the army can do, it'll sneak up on you.
Yeah, agreed. That's cool. I think that's all the lists, yeah.
I believe so.
What do you guys got? top three. Who do you think? What do you think, Gavin?
I think the top three's in this room.
Yeah, knocking squigs.
Yeah. Top three is in this room. Prove us wrong. Come out and prove us wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
James is a good list. Jeff's a good list. But I think Ryan is Teclis is the man to beat here this weekend, boys. See if y'all can pull it off.
I feel like I'm always the target.
I think this is Ryan's tournament to lose here.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm glad you said that. Don't jinx me this time, because you were saying the last one was the one.
That's why we do it. That's why we say it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe it'll jinx in the opposite. That'd be cool.
Perhaps.
I mean, I think you got a good list. I think both of our lists are pretty good. James is really good, and we've two of us at least have played against that list. Gavin's seen it run and knows enough about it. You can just do everything that your army does and do well at it, and then punish yourself for it.
Yeah, and then the sleeper, I think, are both of these Gloomspite lists. Like Ryan was alluding to earlier, Evan's got a really strong list, and the Spider Fang is really good too. So I think that those could be two sleeper lists for sure. Sorry, the Maggotkin's good too, but I think that's kind of a known quantity.
Yeah, I think both Maggotkin lists are really good.
Yeah,
Jeff and James' lists are both really good. I mean, like I said, new guys, don't take it to heart that this is your first one. There is some heat here. Any one of these lists that I've seen almost.
Yeah, or just beat everybody down, dude. Prove us wrong. Establish yourself as the best player in Houston. I would love to see it. It gives us something to just more fire in the furnace, right? This competition is good for everybody. It makes everybody better.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a fun tournament for sure, I think.
That is always the goal.
Oh yeah, watch it be an odd number, and Andrew gets to bust out Croak and ruin somebody's dreams this weekend.
You did to Evan. Played one game, then someone left, so then it was like, oh, Andrew's not even in it anymore.
I mean, even if it is, I like seeing Andrew play. Andrew's a really good player. He's got a really good list. He's fun to play against, unless your Hex Order Skulls make Croak forget Comet's Call. But
I wonder when that happened. When did that happen? I can't put my finger on it. Well, that's cool. We have some unfinished business with Lumina to account for here. We can't go too long because it's already been an hour and 40.
Yeah.
So kind of wrap it up quick. But I think we didn't really address any of the new Wind Temple stuff. So I'll let you kind of run down your opinion of it, Ryan, and then give some input.
Yeah. The Wind Temple stuff, I really like them. They're a lot more they're very support more where Alarith was the way Alarith played. It was hard to play them with other things, play them with Venari, or even most of the time justify running them over Venari, where I feel the Wind Temple stuff is meant to be played with everyone else. Because the Wind Temple isn't tied down to a sub-faction like the Alarith were, or are. They still have all their abilities, no matter...
The critical rules are on their War Scrolls, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and their battle trait, the thing where they get to pile in not towards the closest model, and if they charge, they pile in 6 inches and still don't have to go towards the closest. And they fly if they charged. But those are all just battle traits they have. So it's not tied to a specific sub-faction. Now, the downside, I would say, to the Wind Temple is that I don't think it's viable to play them by themselves. Because you could run Helon, where you make them battle line, but, they're 2 wounds, 5 up save, and so I don't think you really try to run them as your core. I think you run them as kind of your skirmishing force that goes out in front of your core.
Yeah.
And, Wind Mage is probably going to be in more armies than even just Hurricane focus, just because of that. The lore of the Wind is probably it rivals the Lore of Hish for some of the best spells in the game.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think you'll see a lot of those wind mages taken alongside the wind spirits too, because they pair so well. Whereas, like, I think that was the intent with the mountain spirits. It just didn't wind up being as integral as these two seem to be. There seemed to be a lot more like usable rules linked to the two than there were before in the mountain spirits.
Because it's like the mountain spirit one with the stone mage. The big thing is that the mountain spirits don't bracket while they're within 12 of the stone mage, which is really good. But that's about it. Like, they don't actually do anything else together. Where the wind spirit with the wind mage, if it's within 12 inches of the wind spirit, actually heals at D3 wounds in the hero phase. So the wind mage is actually helping keep it alive. And
agreed.
Wind spirits themselves are silly fuckers. Fastest unit in the game by default, like, to my knowledge, because 24-inch base move, I don't know of anything anywhere close to that. You can speed a hish them to make them 48-inch move. They get a 12-inch move in the shooting phase that, as of currently, just says shooting phase, not your shooting phase. So, extremely hard to tie them down because you can run up outside of 3 of them, like, oh, I'm going to charge them. And then in the end of your shooting phase, they just move 12 inches and they're not even in charge range anymore. So, and I think that's the idea behind them, because they're literally the spirits of the wind made physical, is that they're meant to be, like, impossible to catch. And I think it reflects a little bit in their profile, because they do have very good profiles, especially Severeth. But it's nothing like... They're not going to go around and, like, be one-shotting units. Like, they're going to play like most Luminous shooting, where the overall damage is pretty low per unit. Like, it's very pinpoint, but it's low overall. And so chances are your wind spirits will just be focusing down heroes that need to die, or if there's like a unit on an objective you really need to get them off, Severeth can harass them by repeatedly moving over them to do mortal wounds on a 3-up.
Yeah, it's disruptive to units that are strung out too, because it prevents pile-in and has hit modifiers, so you're typically just going to chip him just enough for him to run back to the wind mage and get healed. So I can see that happening a lot.
Well, because the silly things you can do is, so when they both him and Severeth and the normal one, if they charge into a unit on a 3-up, they're -1 to hit and take a mortal wound for the rest of that combat phase, or for that next combat phase. And any models within 3 get -2 to pile in. So anything that's already out, like if there is any models in the unit that are outside of 3, they'll still get their full pile in. So, like, but the thing I think you do is, if you're charging Severeth in, you also charge something else in. He does the -1 to hit for that combat phase, and then because of the battle trait, he just piles in 6 inches out of combat with the unit, and then they don't even get the chance to swing at him, and they're -1 to hit against whatever other unit they're trying to fight.
Yeah. And like the kangaroos have the pile-in shenanigans, like you mentioned, and they I mean, their shooting damage is not bad, especially when you pair it with Lambent Lights. Like, it can be good. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not. It's like in between chip damage and like a primary damage source. It's like
the one who shall not be named did some calculations on the kangaroos in comparison to sentinels and such, and their damage is similar versus like 4-up saves. It's like a 5-man unit does like, or I don't remember the exact number he was doing it for the, I think it was a 10 block where they did like 9 damage to a 4-up save, and 20 sentinels did like 10 damage. So, like, it's like 30 points off, but very similar amount, or like very similar damage.
Similar damage, but more mobility, and can get into a good combat if they want to. And that pile-in move is like the craziest rule in the. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the old the old high elf Griffin leader had a similar pile in rule where when it piled in, it could pile in 6 inches and it didn't have to go towards the closest model. So I think they just kind of like took that and made it new for them. It's very good because
I think they just forgot how many
the Griffin was
abilities they already had, and they just kept stacking abilities on this. This is like a 17 meat patty double cheeseburger book. Like,
yeah,
it's just they just kept stacking and stacking.
Feels like a full battle tome now. Like it actually looks like a full battle tome.
Feels like 6 full battle tomes, bruh. Don't pretend.
I don't know what you're talking about. They need a buff.
I like that comeback. Like, keep talking. They're going to get another book and just get stronger.
Yep.
Teclis is going to have 50 spells by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
The new sub factions are really cool. They're very interesting play, very speed driven sub factions.
Yeah, Helon or Helon, however you pronounce that, looks really good to me.
Yeah, both Helon and Alumnia, because Alumnia has a pre-game move where 3 Venari or Sonari units can immediately move. So instead of D3 like most armies have, they just 3 units just make a move that like they can't run, but you have units like Dawn Riders and such that move 14 inches. So or like it kind of gives you some versatility depending on what you're fighting. Like if your opponent can make like a good charge into you or something, you can kind of like move around your wardens to help screen, or if you can go first, you could move up your Dawn Riders to kind of get them into position.
I think the only time you use those is if you're not running Teclis, right? Like Teclis is still in Syar.
Yeah, probably. Like Helon, you could possibly run them in because they have this cheeky ability that if any Helon units are within 3 of an enemy, when they shoot, they get like in the shooting phase, they have an extra attack. So you could have Teclis with shots. So that could be funny. Alumnia also is the second sub-faction to my knowledge now that has a command ability that doesn't require a hero to do it. Like it just says pick one friendly Alumnia unit that ran that turn and they can still charge they can charge in that charge phase. So basically it gives them run and charge, but it doesn't require a hero to give it to them. So, like, basically your Venari can act very independently from their hero. Like, they already do that, and this sub-faction just lets them do it even more so.
That's cool.
And
it's a cool little ability. I just think what we're going to see at top tables are going to be Teclis, and Teclis is more than likely going to be... I mean, might be some guys trying to, be smarter and outsmart the game, but I think Teclis just plays better in Syar with all of his double Aether Quartz. And
yeah, the double Aether Quartz with Teclis just helps him against those builds that would just run him down turn 1. It gives him some survivability that otherwise having a 4-up save would be difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
The
models are super cool.
Just tons of new units, a bunch of new Venari. A good portion of them that actually not mages. Like the Banner Lord, the Banner Blade isn't one. The Blade Lords aren't wizards actually. I thought that was interesting. But they got a lot of cool stuff. Like they have artillery now. They have the Star Shards.
That kind of makes sense that they're not wizards because they're so focused on being a good swordsman that they wouldn't bother wasting time to go to a magic school.
Right. Well, because it mentions in their lore that they learn their skills of fighting in the Tyrionic nations, but then they also practice the magical arts in the Teklian nations. But I think it's more because they're normally the bodyguards for the mages, so they're probably not really doing the spellcasting. They're just protecting the mage who's doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff. New name
terrain piece is crazy.
Yes,
that piece is nuts.
We're going to get it out of the way right here, right now. For anyone who doesn't know about the terrain piece rule, the way it deploys is after sides are chosen and in friendly territory. 1 inch away from other terrain and 6 inches away from objectives.
Yeah. Gives you an extra CP and casting reroll.
Every turn.
Yeah. If the hero in the shrine can use a CP for free each hero phase, and like a wizard within 12 once per phase, a wizard within 12 inches of the shrine can reroll a cast, dispel, or unbind roll. But if there's a shrine guardian in the shrine from round 2, they can make it 24 inches.
Yeah,
it's like,
you know
it's
what
like
I would have loved if that was a dock turning piece. Oh wait, the dock doesn't have a turning piece. I forgot. Never mind.
I'm honestly still surprised that they got a terrain piece. I didn't think they would.
yeah, it's so crazy. It's like I'm gonna make my army is designed to make your CP more difficult to use, and then I'm gonna use it for free. Like,
Yeah, there's Andrew. Can't even buy it yet. Haha.
Yeah, no. Yes, I will not have the terrain piece this weekend because I cannot physically get it yet. So. Yeah, first the CP is very strange now because they've gotten so many new ways to like just keep generating CP. Like their new named hero, Lyrior Othrale, he's the named Lord Regent. If he's in your army and Teclis is not, at the start of every hero phase on a 2-up, he generates a CP. Like at one of the games I played against Evan, I had 5 CP. Yeah, I rolled a 1 on the first time I did it because you have to fail the first time you ever run a new unit.
Yeah,
but
had to roll. Shit.
Yeah, I had like 5 or 6 CP turn 2. Yeah, no, I know. If it makes you feel any better, when I shot with Severeth for the first time, like his 4 shots, I rolled all 1s. So I was like, yes, indeed. This is a good way.
It doesn't make me feel better because
should have used one of those.
Gotten that out of the way.
15 CP to reroll 1.
Well, that was a different game, but yeah. I haven't been playing as if I had the terrain piece because I just don't have it yet.
Oh, I am benevolent.
He's a generous god. He's not going to take it all out.
Yeah, there's cool stuff like that banner. I don't know if you guys have seen that banner. Like,
yeah, it's tall. It's like everything's molded on it too, right? That's
yeah. Yeah, all the detail and everything's in it. But it's just like so like such a big banner. It's so weird.
Yeah, the giant shoot me sign, dude. Shoot me.
Me. Yeah, probably. That's probably exactly what would happen.
But all their new stuff.
This one's
awesome models. Like that one's cool. The twins are an awesome model. Like
yeah.
The wind spirits are probably my favorite new thing that they came out with. Like that wind spirits, awesome.
The one that will haunt everyone's dreams in the future. They're Vietnam flashbacks of fantasy.
We're gonna beat you up and like duct tape you to the telephone pole and burn it in front of you.
I have 3 of them, so joke's on you.
Yeah. We're gonna burn them all. Don't worry.
They're okay. They put similar damage to like all of the shooting in the army. It's kind of weird how consistent the damage is, where they all do about the same amount of shooting damage.
Did you say okay?
No,
okay?
No, consistent. I did not say okay. I said
What do they hit on?
3s.
That's all right. It's not bad.
But they can be 2s if at start of
shooting.
No, at start of shooting, if there's an enemy unit within 24 inches of a Lumineth Realmlord hero, and that hero is also within 24 inches of the Star Shard, you can get +1 to hit.
It's so hard to do with a hero-based teleport. I don't know how you're gonna do it. I don't know how you're gonna manage.
Yeah, and their ability is the fact that they have 2 abilities. One is that if they didn't move that turn, they get an extra shot, and they're 6-up, feel no pain. The battalion makes it to where it just replaces it, where it's a 5-up, but it's still only 1 extra shot. Because people originally, when they were reading it, they thought it gave you even more shots, so that like each one was like 4 shots. But it's actually only 3. Like, that's still really good for, if you use that one ability, 2s, 3s, -2 Ren D3 damage. Like, it's definitely good at 30 inches. And they have a once per battle ability where when they're shooting at a unit, if they hit, they're -1 to hit for the rest of that turn. So it's similar to the shark ability, like with the net, where it's only for the turn you use it, and it doesn't go into your opponent's turn.
Yeah, that is kind of goofy. So it's basically
Interesting.
like you're prepping something that you're going to go into.
Yeah,
It's
I think
not
that's
like
the way
it's
it's meant to be.
That's cool. That's a cool ability. It's like they are more restricted. I can give you that. They are more restricted in some of their abilities than the initial release, but the abilities are so strong when they go off that the restriction is hardly noticeable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they have a lot of good stuff. Like we said, we already talked about the wind stuff. I was trying to think if there's some other hero I was forgetting about. Like, I know the Caligrave. I freaking love the Caligrave with his high heels. Like, he's just literally standing above the ground. Like, I don't even need to be there.
That's such an ugly chunk of shit. I hate that model.
Rude.
What is that? Are you intimidated by the male elf in high heels? Like,
Yeah, how could you say that? How could you say that to my boy?
Oh my god, dude! What is that?
That's an abomination.
He's a painter. He's just like all of us. He's a painter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't wear my high heel shoes into a combat zone.
It's not even high heels. It's like mini stilts. Like,
he paints runes onto his parchments that then project spells.
He needs to paint some flip flops onto his feet like a man.
Okay. Closing thoughts. We do have a tournament to play.
Yes.
Tomorrow. You got anything to wrap up before we get going here?
No, I really talked about most of it. Like, we didn't really talk about the wind spells. I don't know if we cared to really get into that or not.
Yeah.
Everybody will know them tomorrow. They know the important ones. One of them's
we can't spoil everything.
One of them's a teleport.
Yeah, one is a teleport, and one of them shuts your command abilities off. That's all you need to know. And then one of them
the other one's
does damage.
Severe understatement.
Yeah, and then one of the other ones does some damage. Yeah.
Tomorrow, everyone in the chat, tomorrow, if you guys start to get mad at me when I'm reading off some of these spells, just remember that they said that, like, you guys will just figure it out.
Yeah, dude, we did it. We did it. Yeah, don't show up late. Andrew's right. But thank you guys for everyone who's hung around the entire time with us. We really appreciate you coming out and watching. We appreciate the better Mr. Miller for coming on and joining us.
The number one player in Texas, you know?
Yeah. Number one Lumineth player in the world still. Sure.
No, remember, I'm ranked number one supposedly right now.
And Texas too, both. Yeah. You're just number one at everything. Best, dude.
Yeah,
skill,
so good.
Underpowered army needs buff. For sure,
yes,
all those things.
Please, my army needs a buff. Someone send help.
Yeah. Fucking all that bullshit. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. And thanks. Drive safe up there. Have fun tomorrow. Bye-bye.